Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I am excited. We are going to be reviewing the Dart Zone Max Stryker. This is the next in the series, next video in the series for our primary review or versus series. We started with the Nexus Pro. This is the second one, and then we're going to look at the Tomcat as well. We'll probably mix in the Dictator somewhere in there. We've already reviewed that one. But we'll mix that in and talk about that one, all in a final video where we compare all four blasters together and really kind of see which one kind of beats out the others. And we've got a couple different things we're going to talk about. But first, today we are talking all about the Max Stryker and what it offers inside this box. So let's go ahead and get started with this video. So the first thing you'll notice is on the cover here, we get a really nice picture of the blaster itself. It says it comes with 33 pieces, which we all know that includes the darts that come with it. So you're going to get several different pieces, and we'll go over those individually as well. It's got a claim here if it shoots over 125 feet, so we will be testing that. I think with all of the Dart Zone Max blasters, it's the ultimate dart blaster series, so that's a claim there. We have no real way to substantiate that, but we can definitely look at the 125 feet. The other thing that's really nice is it tells you everything that comes included, which is awesome. So you get the all the information here that's included in the 33 pieces, so it's not as deceiving as most, so that's nice. The other nice thing that they do is they allow you to open it up and actually see the blaster itself. This is awesome. Nice packaging as always from Dart Zone. Up here we get a nice kind of diagram of what's included and the different names and things like that. With that, all the imagery that we need to understand what we're looking at down below. So it looks like we've got the blaster here, all the different magazines, adapter, things like that. And like I said, we'll jump into that here in a moment. Pretty much everything else is kind of standard. We've got some caution, Dart Zone imagery, just kind of the made in China, primetime toys, barcode stuff. The back has a very similar image as the inside, kind of spells out everything that you get inside of the blaster itself. So let's go ahead and break it open and take a look and see what we get. Alright, so we've got ourselves the Max Stryker. Comes with instructions and stuff like that on how to install the different magazines and the different attachments and things like that. So we'll throw that aside. This works very similar to the Nexus Pro from what I hear. So let's see here. So we've got like this really neat looking scope. It's got some crosshairs in it, which is cool. Definitely an improvement over the Nexus Pro. But like I said, we're not here to compare the two. We're here to just look at this one. So you do get two types of iron sight, or two types of sights. You get your kind of basic iron sights here, front and back. So these just happen to slide on here. And this one slides on like this, I believe. I want to say, maybe not. It's a very snug fit. Dang it. There it goes. That is not going anywhere. So you get that, or you get your choice of like the scope, which it doesn't look like. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's no glass. Yeah, there's no glass. It just has the crosshairs, which is honestly, to be if I'm perfectly honest with you, I'm glad that it doesn't have glass, because if it has the glass, then it's got an opportunity to capture moisture, then it fogs up, and looking through it is even more disturbing and more distorted, and it's just pointless. At least with this, you've got you've got a crosshair. Yeah, is it going to help you aim? Probably not, but it still gives you a nice clear view of what you're looking at, pointing the gun at, blaster, whatever. So there's that. It comes with both two 12-round mags, a full-size length magazine, as well as a half-length. If you're going to use the half-length, obviously you need the mag adapter, and that just seats in right here, just like that. And then you've got your 12 dart mags, which you've got your arrow pointing which way you want the darts to go. That goes in just like, well, you gotta prime it. And then you stick in just like that, and then pull forward. Not too shabby, right? The red looks really nice. Grip, the grip feels pretty good. It's just a solid piece of plastic. It doesn't have any of that rubberized material that we're used to with the newer Dart Zone Mark IIs. Let's see if we've got a... It's not too bad on the seal. Let's try that again. Yeah. So, and then you pull the priming handle back, and you can pull the magazine out, and then this paddle right here releases your mag adapter. Or if you're shooting full-length darts, which you, with this type of blaster, why would you? So that goes in there, and it works just like that. So you don't have to do anything to the blaster. It just fires half-length and full-length darts without a problem. And then to release this magazine, use this paddle. So, oh, you gotta prime it first. There we go. That's the one downside. Now you've got to like dry fire this thing, unfortunately. So the priming mechanism is it feels pretty strong. I like it. The comfortability of this grip is nice. It's got a nice little lip, so you can kind of rest your finger on there, give you a little bit more purchasing power on there, so you can pull back a little bit easier. It does come with a buffer tube stock. Now this is a little bit beefier than the Nexus, and I keep doing that. I'm sorry, we're not comparing the two together. This just slides on like this, and that's not going in. It does retract on its own, so you don't, so it doesn't lock in this way, unfortunately. But yeah, it's not going at the various stops. It's not going in. You've got kind of a texturized stock right here, which is nice. None of this is rubberized at all. It's just got a nice texture to it. You've got your spare O-ring there and a spare O-ring there. So if in the event that you break or lose one of the O-rings in there, you can still go back and replace those. You will have to open up the blaster to do that. You've got a safety switch here. So S for safe, and then F on the other side for fire. Yeah, not too shabby. I like it. You got a nice cheek rest. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's not too bad at all. The blaster also comes with this a very aggressive, very cool looking muzzle brake, and that just kind of friction fits in there, and it looks like it marries up to the metal interior barrel. Just like that. That's not too bad. Now it's not going to give you any type of like performance boost or anything like that. It is a wider barrel, so it does step up in thickness when it comes to this suppressor, which is nice because then you're not having to worry about your dart banging up against the plastic. So you can fire it both with this or without it. Personally, I kind of like it with it, to be honest. If I'm going to be honest with you, I kind of like it with it. Just the extra length, the profile looks kind of neat. We have to test it out and see if it does anything to the performance, that extra barrel drag, if that's going to cause any issues out on the range. But it's a pretty sharp looking blaster. I think if I was going to use it, if I was going to run this, I don't think I would use the iron sights. I think I'd probably put a red dot reflex sight on here with a little bit of a riser, because this is just, trying to get your head down far enough, and this will be a good, a good example of what we're looking at here. So you put on this, and can you get, I guess you could, But if you got to think about this, if you're wearing goggles or a face mask of any type, you're not going to be able to put your cheek on this quite like that. So yeah, having a riser with the red dot reflex sight, that's definitely going to be where I would run this. I really like the way that looks. So anyway, so that is what comes with it. It also comes with 12 half-length darts and 12 full-length darts to fill your magazines exactly one time. So that's, I guess that's okay. But the nice thing about these are you can purchase these at Target. They're relatively inexpensive, and they're semi-acceptable ammo type as far as durability goes. So yeah, so let's go ahead and take it out on the range and see what kind of performance we're getting, and we'll put over the chronograph and get some numbers for you guys, and last we'll jump over and test the max range. I don't think that's going to be a problem. 125 feet with something like this is really not that far. Plus with the spring feels pretty powerful, so we'll test it anyway. We'll see what we got. So let's go out on the range and take a look. All right, so we are at 45 feet with the Dart Zone Max Stryker. We're shooting Adventure Force Ember darts. All right, next up we have the Dart Zone Ruby darts. All right, so we're at 45 feet with the Max Stryker. This is the Worker Gen 3 darts. Stock configuration, dead center. Alright, and then last up for the Max Stryker is the bamboo darts. These are from Dart Zone. Dead center, 45 feet. Alright, so next up we have 60 feet. Dart Zone Max Stryker Ember darts. Stock configuration. Let's take a look. Alright, next up for the Stryker, we've got the 20 Ruby darts from Dart Zone, 60 feet. Alright, next up we have the Worker Gen 3 in the Max Stryker at 60 feet. right, and then last up we have the bamboo darts from Dart Zone, 60 feet, then center of the target. Hey guys, we're back from the range. We've got our Max Stryker, and let's go over some numbers and get some FPS readings on screen for you guys, and just kind of talk about where this blaster sits, and yeah, give you our final thoughts. Let's take a look. First off, bamboo taking all 4 categories. Again, this is such a performer. On the high, just stock spring. No spacers, no modification, just a stock blaster right out of the box from target. 195 feet per second on the high. Come on now. Average 174 feet per second. Standard deviation of 6.5. This thing loves those darts. Those little green darts just shoot right out. So good, so good. Talk about reliable. Like, talk about reliable. Being able to fire, not just fire, just being able to see your target, be like, yeah, that's about 45, 60 feet away. I'm gonna hit that. Right? No problem. On the HVZ part of things, Max Stryker, it's sad to say, is not going to be your go-to blaster. You could probably get by with the Ember darts. Those did the worst out of all of them, but the high was still at 152. So you're still, if a single dart goes higher than a 150, your blaster's probably null and void. But the average was at 124. So you could probably put a spring spacer in here, to the out of dart cells, one that kind of reduces the spring velocity or the spring tension. You could probably use that to give yourself a little bit of negative feet per second on there. You could use a scar barrel that usually will drop you a good 5 to 10. One of those two will drop you down. The Worker Gen 3 darts would be a good option for that as well, because the average is at 140 and the high was at 160. So they're just 10 feet per second over. So definitely that tuning spring from out of darts is a recommendation, or just get a scar barrel, because those are going to tighten up your grouping a little bit, and they'll give you a little bit of that negative performance on your FPS, so that you come in underneath the where you need to be. So a combination of those two should get you where you need to be. Looking at the actual range tests, the accuracy and precision, we started off at 30 feet because that's a good kind of marker for a blaster of this caliber. Wow, Ember darts, 100%. Can't go wrong there. 95% for the Ruby darts. You're looking at 90% for the Worker darts, and then 65% for the bamboo darts. Although it should be noted that 65% is not because the blaster, the dart rather, was dropping them too low, but quite the opposite. The dart was going too high. So that might be a combination of the power that the blaster has, but I think it more or less has to do with the fact that those darts are lighter, so they might have a little bit of lift on them. Who knows? Still a tight grouping across the board. If you're using the bamboo darts, you'll have to zero in your sight just a little bit more, so bring your reticle down just the crosshairs just a little bit, or just know that hey, this is going to go higher than what I'm shooting at, so just a couple degrees down. The grouping was on point. Both the Ember and the Worker darts surprised me the most because they had excellent grouping. Obviously the Ember darts hit 100% at 30 feet. There's really not much to kind of write home about. It's 30 feet. Come on. Next up, you'll see. Here's a shot of all the darts together. just kind of solidifying the fact that the ember darts were all within a certain, a good tight grouping, about 2 feet apart, because they're, from top to bottom they're there. Next up, we have 45 feet. This is kind of where we start to see a little bit of differentiation between the darts. 70% for the ember darts. Still a pretty decent grouping. There's a few darts that are just outside that 2 foot radius. The ruby darts finished with 70%. And then the likewise with the worker darts, 70% as well. Again, I think the worker darts outperformed just a little bit, because there's just, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 darts that are within that 5-inch. If you spread that out to 12 inches, just outside of that circle, you're going to hit all those shots. So again, scar barrel to tighten that up just a little bit, and then to reduce the FPS. I think that's where you're at. So, optimal range is looking pretty good at 45 feet for for the worker darts with the scar barrel. Probably about 40 feet if you're without the scar barrel. Again, the bamboo darts kind of didn't perform very well percentage-wise, 65%. But again, you had kind of the darts kind of going all over the place, right? So a scar barrel would definitely tighten that up a little bit. The shots that did hit, you had a really nice grouping just over center mass, which is where we were aiming. But I mean, the worker ember and ruby darts hitting 70% across the board is just phenomenal. Yeah, just keep that in mind when you're looking at scar barrels and what your FPS goal needs to be under. So looking at 60 feet, the ember darts really impressed me. Typically they do very poorly once you hit past that 45-foot range. So 60 feet is a pretty far stretch for this dart, and it did fairly well. The actual grouping was good. The vertical spread was phenomenal, meaning that all the darts were lined up vertically, so you're not getting a lot of shots that are going wide. I always like to say, if we're going to go wide or high or low, I want to go wide. I want to go high and low, because your target is typically taller than it is wider. So if you get a shot that goes a little bit low, you might be hitting them in the torso, in the thighs, in the legs. Or if you're going a little high, you're hitting them in the shoulders and the head. If you're going wide, you might be missing their body entirely. So that vertical scale, that vertical line is, in my opinion, more important than the horizontal. So if you get a blaster that shoots wide versus high, and a blaster that shoots high versus wide, I'll go with the one that's going high and low any day of the week. But the bamboo darts still showed some signs of weakness. A good chunk of them fell short, just short of the target. So not out of frame, they didn't hit the grass, they hit the actual fence itself, but they felt just short. And I think, again, scar barrel will tighten that up a little bit. If you put something to increase your FPS, you might be able to get some of those shots kind of raising up a little bit, because they're just a little bit more power behind them. But yeah, 50% at 60 feet, not much to write home about. But like I said, the FPS readings are there. If you're looking for a high FPS dart blaster, the bamboo darts are where you want to go at. You just need to figure out, and we'll look at this when we go to our mod video, our upgrade video, what's a good modification. Is it the barrel seal? Is it the scar barrel? Is it a pusher? Is it a spring spacer? What is going to make this blaster get to the next level when it comes to each of these different darts? So again, kind of look at where you need to be at FPS wise, and look at the results as far as the range, the accuracy, and the precision, and make your own kind of conclusion there. But I think there's a lot to be learned by looking at other statistics than just feet per second. Because if you just look at the feet per second, then you just say, oh yeah, bamboo darts all the time, right? But if you're at 60 feet and you're like, oh, well, I was really hoping to get a little bit higher percentage than 30% with my ruby darts or my worker darts, like 60% ember darts, not too bad, right? So your range might vary based on what actual dart you're using. So let's look at the performance, my final testing thoughts and things like that. So
I think stock, you're looking at bamboo. The darts that were just outside of that 2-foot radius, I think, are obtainable either by a scar barrel, or B, stepping 2, 3, maybe 4 steps forward. If I put the optimal range at 55 feet because I think that gives you, that those shots that were 6 to 8 inches or less outside of that 2-foot target. I think 5 feet in, you're hitting those every time. Average FPS on the bamboo darts was 174 feet per second, so that's a solid number, coming in under a kind of a threshold number at 175, 200. Your high FPS is at 195 with that dart. So again, you're underneath that 200 mark. So depending on how your game runner or your tournament organizer runs things, whether it's is it your high shot of 20 or is it an average of 20? Being under 175 and being under 200 at both of those really kind of puts the blaster in a very unique kind of situation. Obviously, if you're HVZ and it's 150, then you need to do some tuning or find a different blaster, unfortunately. That being said, though, there is something to be noticed. There's something to notice about the worker darts. Coming in at an average of 161 feet per second and the high of 104 or 140, that's a good... That doesn't make sense. That can't be right. Hold on, that can't be right. Yeah, I guess that's right. Never mind. Oh, I got those backwards. I've got those backwards. I was like, wait a minute, how can the average be higher than the high? That doesn't make any sense. The high was 161. The average was 140. I would put the worker darts at a optimal range of 40 feet per second, or 40. I would put the worker darts at an optimal range of 40. Again, with like the dart zone, the bamboo darts at 60 feet, there was just enough outside of that ring to kind of warrant a 55-foot optimal range. So I think at 40 feet, you're picking up, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 darts, maybe 6 darts with that extra 5 feet in. Again, this could, rather than going, and we'll have to do some testing in our upgrade video, is the 5 feet more beneficial, or would it be beneficial to stay at 60 feet, or excuse me, stay at the 45 feet and add a scar barrel? Will that tighten things up that extra, 2, 3, 6 inches to get you up over that optimal range? So still more testing to be done, but I think bamboo darts are your best bet at 55 feet, 40 feet range, depending on your distance of engagement. 40 feet would be worker darts, hands down. Key features that I like about this blaster: easy access. This needs to be a norm. Like, this just needs to be norm. The one thing about this that I would like to see fixed, and I think what I might do is I might just ditch this screw altogether. Being able to take this tuning cap off and put in spring spacers or a different cap so that the blaster actually perform the FPS go down for things like HVZ. This just needs to be a standard feature. Toolless would be the best option. So I think it's strong enough where I think the stock, and maybe even with a spring spacer in there, I think having that screw taken out completely, I don't think it's going to create a problem, especially with this stock, the way it's the way that it fits on here. So if there is like a catastrophic failure where this, if you take the screw out and you just leave the actual locking mechanism, and something happens where you prime it and the actual spring breaks through that plastic, it's not going to go anywhere. And the only thing that you'll need to replace, hopefully, is just the spacer, because I'm hoping that's the only thing that breaks. But anyway, that's besides the point. I think that needs to be a standard, a norm when it comes to this style blaster. The faux Picatinny rail underneath the pump grip is a nice included feature. It gives you the option to take this grip off and put something that's horizontal, vertical, angled, however you want to do it, like the claw ones or whatever. That's an awesome feature. The top level Picatinny rail that's not stepped down like the Nexus Pro. Again, this is my favorite blaster up to this point. This right here bugs the heck out of me, so much so that I paid out of darts $20 some to print one that makes that level. That's a $20 upgrade or $12. I don't know what it is, but anyway, making it perfectly level. This I think was a poor design choice. This looks much better. So I love that that's, you know, full Picatinny, across the board. Great feature to have. O-rings built into the stock. That's great. Let me tell you, adding O-rings to the blaster for replacement purposes is phenomenal. If they're loose in like a baggie, they get lost. Things that I'm not impressed and things that I would change about this blaster. This pump grip is not very intuitive. There's not enough lip. I mean, there's enough grip here to work. The problem is, and you can see it right there, I just did it. I don't know if you caught it on camera, but I just did it. When I pump this thing, I want to put my thumb over it, I want to put my finger over it, but you can't do that because you've got this track right here. So you can't do that. There's nowhere, it's not quite big enough for my large adult hands, but that's not only the thing. There isn't, you know, I wish this was a lip. This came down just a little bit further so that the palm of your hand doesn't really slide. The other thing that and I'll demonstrate right here, there is no air seal. What in the hell? There is no, it doesn't have an air seal. So that's a modification that we can do, and that's something we will do. So definitely check back for the upgrade video we'll be sealing, because this barrel, you can see it in there. It uses the same type of setup that the Nexus Pro uses, where it's got the metal barrel going in kind of like this dart gate prep area or whatever. So the pusher will push the dart from the magazine into like this plastic piece, and then when you pull the trigger, the air will push the dart from that plastic piece into the barrel. So the metal barrel kind of seats into this plastic piece, and there's not a seal between those two. It's just sits in there. It's not even friction fitted. Like, you can rotate the barrel, like it wiggles and things like that. It's in there far enough that it won't wiggle free, but there is not an air seal there. So it's an easy fix. You just have to open up the blaster to do it, and it's more of a pain in the butt than anything. So that's something that I would like to see rectified, whether that's putting an O-ring, putting, you know, a couple wraps of tape, or whatever the case may be, friction fitting that in a little bit tighter for the end user. The other thing that's kind of frustrating is there's no exposed barrel, metal barrel. So using like your friction fit, like worker barrels and things like that don't work with this one. You have to use a special sized scar barrel that fits this specific diameter, which is frustrating because if you've already invested in worker barrels, scar barrels, muzzle attachments, whatever the case may be, you just can't use them. This is not possible. As far as like loadouts go, this isn't going to replace my Nexus Pro. I'm too invested in it, even with the Picatinny rail, right? I've already got the upgrade for that for my Nexus Pro, so this isn't going to be replacing my Nexus Pro. But if you in fact don't have a primary Springer blaster and this is your kind of forte into it, this isn't a bad place to start. It really is not. This blaster's been out on the market for about 3 years now, maybe a little less, and it's still on Target shelves. You can still buy this, albeit $10 more expensive than it launched, but inflation is a thing. But for, I think, $50, $50 or $60, it's not a bad pickup. You're getting close to the price point for a Nexus Pro, because the Nexus is $60. The Tomcat is even more expensive than that. We've got the Tryon that just came out, so that's even more expensive than that. So entry level, I think this is a good spot to be at. The Max Dictator does give this a run for its money, so keep that in mind. What you're looking for as far as like a performance improvement, I already talked about the scar barrel issue, but extending the barrel out a little bit more and adding a scar barrel to it, would be a huge benefit to this blaster. If you're going to do that, you'll probably need to either upgrade the spring or you add some type of spring spacer here. Out of Dart sells a fantastic one. They're also available on Thingiverse, things like that. But I highly recommend the Out of Darts one. It works great, and he's got a couple different module ones that you can purchase, and it tells you exactly what they can do. This is the 131, this is the 101, this is blah 175. So they're all clearly marked and easy upgrade to do. I would definitely ditch this scope. As much as this scope is fun, it looks nice. It actually, I can use this. Like, I can see through it. It's high enough. It's got this nice little riser that I'm not like looking down like this. I can shoulder this pretty high up on my shoulder, but I can still see it. I would ditch this and put yourself a reflex sight on there. Red dot would be phenomenal. I don't think that the power level warrants anything more expensive than that. So spend 15-20 bucks to get a reflex sight off of Amazon, and that'll go a long way. The bamboo darts are the darts I would go with. That's just the setup I would go with, because they're just the FPS is there. The scar barrel will improve the tightness of the grouping. Those two things warrant that type of upgrade. As far as the sidearm goes, I've got two different options here, and it's kind of up to you. It's more of a price point comparison choice that you're going to have to make. Best case scenario, Nightingale. It's hard to recommend anything other than that. It is an expensive blaster, especially if you're using it as a sidearm. So you're thinking you might use it once or twice in a day, but having that availability, like if you run out on your magazine and someone's running up on you, do you reload your magazine or pull out your sidearm that has 12, 15 rounds in it and peel off 3 or 4 shots at this guy? You always go for your sidearm. Always, 100%. And it's hard to recommend something that's not as performance-oriented as a Nightingale. It's a phenomenal blaster. Worker did an excellent job. We need to review that blaster, by the way. Amanda's she dual wields them at our Nerf battles, and she's a force to be reckoned with for sure. These things are loud and intimidating. If you didn't want to go the Nightingale route and you wanted to go Springer route, I would say the Dart Zone Pro Mark II. You could get the 2 or the 2.1. The 2.1 is a slightly larger blaster. The benefit that it carries is it's got in-grip magazines versus the speed loaders, so kind of pick your poison there. The 2.0 is smaller, more compact, and I enjoy that. But having the reloadable magazines, the in-grip magazines, that's a feature that can't be overlooked. So that's kind of the where I would go. Price point wise, the 2.1 isn't much. I don't think that's much cheaper than the Nightingales, to be honest with you. Now that I think about it, if you can get, I don't know. That's a tough one. I think of those 3 blasters, as far as sidearms goes, I think I would go Nightingale, Mark II, Mark 2.1 in that order. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you like, comment, do all that crazy stuff. That helps the YouTube overlords spread the word about the channel. I really do appreciate it, and I'm very humble when it comes to all the different comments and things like that. I read all the comments, respond to everything. So if you have any questions about the blaster or any comparison specifically, keep an eye out on the channel. I think probably the end of February, maybe the beginning of March, we'll be doing a comparison with the Stryker, with the Nexus Pro, the Tomcat, the Dictator, and now the Tryon is going to be joining that mix because they're all kind of in that same class of blaster. So we'll be talking about and comparing the numbers with those blasters and kind of looking at it from a price perspective, looking at it from a performance perspective, and just kind of giving you, upgrades and what's possible and things like that. and which blaster is going to be best investment long term. It's going to be a fun and a different kind of talking head video. Not a lot of like footage and stuff like that, but it's going to be, I think, a very informative video. If you're looking to upgrade or get into the hobby, which blaster should you kind of jump into? There's lots of different price points. There's a lot of different features, lots of different performance levels, and yeah, it's a lot of information. And I'm going to parse through that for you guys and give it to you in a digestible, easy to understand video. And honestly, if you wanted to get a head start on that video, all the information is up on the Google Doc that's listed in the description. I put all the information for my testing goes into that Google Doc. All 20 shots for the FPS, all 20 shots for the different range tests that we do. I even put in there, when applicable, the amount of pressure it takes to prime the blaster back between the two. So if you're a younger nerfer, how strong do you have to be to prime it back? The different upgrades that I use. Is it stock? The different ammo type. It's a lot of frickin' information. It's somewhat organized. I would like to go back through and change some things around, but I'm kind of already in deep to where it's at. So that link's down below if you want to take a look at it. All the information's there from all the blasters I've already talked about. It's all already there. The videos just haven't been edited yet. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next video.